Good afternoon. My name is Kathy Burek. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a member of Emerging Waters Unitarian Universalist Congregation. We are a community that draws on the shared values of mindful interdependence, authentic curiosity, and courageous love. We welcome you today who are joining us in person and you who are joining us online. It is so good to be together in all of the ways that we can. If you are with us in person, where we share space at the United Church of Christ, New Brighton, we are so glad that you are here. We ask that everyone wears a name tag in an effort to practice radical hospitality and to build community. Some are available on the welcome table out in the entry area. I have a few announcements. We encourage everyone to take care of their body's needs during the service and engage in ways that help you feel connected, including crafting, doodling, fidgeting, stretching, etc. The fireside space in the back has lots of room for moving around during the service. We want children especially to feel free to engage in activities in the back or to be with their adults or to move between the two. Children are also welcome to play in the children's room down the hall, where on most Sundays they'll be supervised by our child care worker. She had a family emergency today. And there will always usually be another adult member in the room as well. We also offer a one-room schoolhouse model of religious education for older children in the fireside room at the back of the sanctuary. If you have a pastoral care need, please feel free to reach out to Reverend Krista. Reverend Krista's office hours this week are Tuesday, May 5th through May 5th, 1 to 3 here at UCCNB, or Wednesday, May 6th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Zoom. We all enjoy having coffee and treats after church and having a conversation, so please sign up to bring treats or to help set up coffee. The sign-up sheet is over by the coffee, so you can't miss it. If you are new to Emerging Waters, please consider signing up to receive our weekly e-news, which gives details and links for our events. To sign up, you can include your email address on the sign-in sheet at the welcome table and check the box that gives us permission to add you to the mailing list. If you are online, there is a connection card available on our webpage. The Fridley Resistance Singing Group will hold another rehearsal here at UCCNB this afternoon, 2:30 to 3:30. It's a startup group, and they've invited folks from Emerging Waters to join them. Katie Johnson is part of that group, and if you'd like more information, you can check in with Katie at the back, or her email is on the newsletter. The Drum Circle will be May 5th, starting at 6:30. It was rescheduled from last week. The UU Church of Minnetonka is hosting a non-cooperation training for people of faith. When ordinary people stop cooperating, authoritarians fail. This is next Saturday, May 9th, 2 to 5, followed by an optional potluck dinner. Join them for an interactive training on civil resistance and non-cooperation. This training will include tactics that every one of us can use to not cooperate with the systems or pillars that prop up authoritarian power. This training is being offered to congregations throughout the West Metro and will be an opportunity to build relationships and strategize with our neighboring communities of faith interested in being part of the growing civil resistance movement. Check the newsletter for registration information. And I took a similar training from Lena Gardner about a month ago, and it is absolutely excellent. There are all kinds of good strategies and ideas that we might not have thought of. The Sunday evening book group meets next Sunday at 7 at Sig and Marty Rechthal's, and they are reading Lincoln at the Bardo by George Saunders. Newcomers are welcome to all of our programming. You need not be a formal member. And if you'd like more information, you can ask Reverend Krista or me or check our e-news. Joining me in the worship service this morning in person are Reverend Krista Weber Huang, our minister. Bruce, our director of music ministry, is at the piano here on site, and members of the choir and band will lead hymns. Our volunteer tech team includes Brian Hill and Katie and Byron Johnson. Katie Johnson and Janice Sankott create the service slides. Welcome once again to our service today. We hope these Sundays provide a time of sanctuary, reflection, connection, and joy. We will light our chalice here in person and encourage those of you to light one at home. We seek our place in the world and the answers to our heart's deep questions. As we seek, may our hearts be open to unexpected answers. May the light of our chalice remind us that this is a community of warmth, of wisdom, and welcoming of multiple truths. Words by Reverend Julianne Lepp.
Today we begin our theme for May from our Soul Matters program of Awakening Curiosity. And so I call us into worship with these words from the Reverend Tess Baumberger entitled Entranced with Possibility. We gather as a community of spiritual seekers, always ready to awaken one another's curiosity. In this beautiful, challenging, and complex world, may we enter into worship today with open minds, warm hearts, and spirits entranced with possibility of hope, of healing, of transformation, of justice. Come, let us worship. Our opening hymn this morning actually comes from the title of a French famous oil painting by Paul Gauguin, created in Tahiti in 1897 and 1898. It's currently at the Museum of Arts in Boston, Fine Arts. And it's of three groups of women. Read it from the right to the left, represent three questions posed in the title of the painting. The women with the child represent the beginning of life. Where do we come from? The middle group represents the daily existence of adulthood. What are we? And the old woman facing death is asking, where are we going? So as we reflect on this visual, let us also join together in singing our opening hymn, Where Do We Come From? It's number 1003 if you have a teal hymnal. Otherwise, we'll also have the lyrics on the screen, and our leaders will come up front to lead us. Those of you online, please sing along as you are able while remaining muted. And I believe our choir is going to lead us in a round, and I will remind us that we are not about perfection, we are about community and connection. So joyful noise of any kind is welcome in this space.
What we're going to do is we're going to sing the four lines one time, so kind of get used to it. So some of you know pretty well. So you're going to go and bing, 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 bing down, and then the Merging Waters UU music training program is going to make you all have to learn. So that side will start the round. This side will then come in as the second part of the round. That side will be led by Kathy and, okay, so
We're singing each twice.
yeah, and then during the round we sing it twice. Then on this side, it'll be led by these two. Round one will be the oboe leading it. Entry here will be Ed leading it. So we'll give you some cues on here.
And Bruce, how many times do we sing each line
Yeah.
during the round?
During the round, each time twice. So to get the round. But right now we're going to go straight to bing, 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 bing. So you all know.
No repeats.
No repeats. Most of you know these, but for those that don't, so here we go from the beginning. Ready, here we go. Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? The next line will be where? Where do we side will start. And ready, and count 1, 2, ready, and where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we? And repeat, where do we come from? Where are we? Where are we? Let's start here, ready? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Where do we come from? What are we? Where are we going? Mystery, mystery, life is a tale of mystery. Mystery, mystery, life is a tale of mystery.
Marie? I'd say that was pretty darn impressive. I'd like to invite us now into a time for all ages and a story today that I'm actually going to have Marie read to you all.
Reverend Krista knows I like stories. Thank you for letting me do this. Okay. Today we're exploring pluralism and the idea that we embrace our differences and our commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Sometimes when we see the world differently than someone else, it's tempting to think one of us must be wrong. But what if we're each just seeing part of a much bigger truth? There was once a parent who had 4 young children. They wanted to teach each of them about the dangers of judging things too rapidly before seeing all aspects of a situation. So the parent decided to send each of the children on a journey, one after the other, to view and observe a distant pear tree. Each child traveled in a different season. The first child in winter, the second in spring, the third one in the summer, and the fourth child in the fall. At the end of the year, the parent brought their children together and asked them about what they had seen and observed. The child who traveled in the winter described a gnarled, twisted, and barren tree that stood stark and ugly against the land. The child who went in the spring disagreed completely. They commented that the tree seemed full of hope and promise, with many green buds along its branches. The third child, who traveled in the summer, described the pear tree they had seen as covered with beautiful blossoms that looked and smelled divine. Finally, the fourth and last child, who made the journey in the fall, was even more elated. They described a tree laden with sweet and delicious pears that tasted better than any they had ever eaten before. After each child had spoken, the parents said they were actually all correct, because each had only seen but one season in the pear tree's life. The parent told their children that it is foolish and impossible to make wise and fair judgments in this manner. They further explained that the essence of something, whether it's a tree or their fellow human being, can only be measured as a whole at the end of the year. having seen it all in its development and fullness. To make a negative judgment in winter is to miss the promise of spring, the beauty of summer, and the delicious fruit of fall. You know, what's cool about this story is how it reminds us that no one has the whole picture, and that difference in perspective is not error. It's simply part of the truth. It also encourages us to be curious about how others see things differently than we do, because their perspectives don't compete with ours. They just make ours larger.
In the story of The Little Prince, there is a compelling scene in which he arrives on a new planet and encounters a businessman. We know he's a businessman because he is too busy counting to lift his head in response to the little prince's greeting. He is behind his desk, working on a huge ledger, counting, much like this. 3 and 2 make 5. 5 and 7 make 12. 12 and 3 make 15. 15 and 7 make 22. 22 and 6 make 28. 26 and 5 make 31. Whew. That makes 501,622,731. When he takes a breath, the little prince asks, 500 million what? It's such a simple question, isn't it? But the man, the one counting, only responds to the little prince in this way. Are you still here? 501 million? I can't stop. I have so much to do. I am concerned with matters of consequence. I don't amuse myself with balderdash. 2 and 5 make 7. Matters of consequence. There he was, behind his desk, counting without pause, counting a thing of beauty whose name he could not remember. The little glittering objects in the sky, he called them. Stars. He was counting and recounting stars, gathering them up by the millions, owning them, banging them in hopes that one day he would get rich selling them. He was tending to matters of consequence. The businessman in this story is by no means unique. When invited into a moment of human connection, when invited to ponder the little glittering, the stars, to notice and grow playfully curious about them, he declined. He would lose track of counting. He would have to stop, break away from his ledger, look up, take in, and behold the little glittering objects in the sky. The stuff of dreams. To take them in would mean opening himself up to learning more. He declined because the matters of consequence to which he was attending were far too important and could not wait. All questions were interruptions. All moments of being invited to engage were balderdash. He had no use for the person before him seeking to be in relationship. So it is with all of us sometimes. We are drawn into important tasks and forget the whole world around us, ready for our curious gaze. What if we attended to each other, to those ordinary encounters and conversations with intrigue? What if instead of clinging to certainty, we paused and made room for holy curiosity? The poet Rumi writes, "This being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all," he says. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from the beyond. Every moment, every interruption has something to offer, something to teach. The beauty is in being able to greet each new or familiar arrival with a learning mind rather than a knowing mind, and to forgive ourselves when we are not able to. What if you had one moment today in which you were gently interrupted from tending to matters of consequence, or in which you encountered the unfamiliar? What if you paused and viewed that moment as a guest, as an unexpected visitor from whom you had much to learn? What questions would you ask? How would you listen? How would you choose to be?
Curiosity is a very interesting thing. I think this story of the little prince, we often think of the little prince as the one who is curious. And indeed, he is. He's asking and wondering and traveling around. But in exploring curiosity, I discovered that there may be a different kind of curiosity at play with the businessmen. Dr. Judd Brewer is a psychologist and researcher who wrote an article called "The Curiosity Hijack: Why Your Brain's Superpower is Making You Miserable." And he talks about two different kinds of curiosity. The first one, which is more what we see in The Little Prince, is called I curiosity, standing for interest, which means it's the pleasurable aspects of hunger for knowledge, right? That's the classic curiosity we think about, the one that feels like wonder. But he also says there's de-curiosity, that stands for deprivation. The idea that if we have a gap in information, we go into a restless, unpleasant need to know state. Right? Does that sound familiar to anybody? I have that issue frequently. Right? But we can imagine how this businessman started his journey with a curious question of how many stars are there, but slipped from interest into deprivation, right? Slipped into this need to know, this anxious restlessness that can sometimes be how curiosity shows up. Now, in this article, Dr. Judd quotes Cornel West when he is talking about smartphones as weapons of mass distraction. I am a mass culprit of this. I just got a buzz in my pocket and went, I wonder if that's Eric. I need to know what's going on. Is there something happening with the kids in the back? I pulled out my phone to check. In the middle of worship, as the minister. There's a problem that we have, right? This idea that modern issues with phones, with social media, are constantly pulling at our attention. And they're engaging this deprivation curiosity. What if something's wrong? I need to know, I need to find out. And because it's so instant, it can just keep pulling. And because there's a vast amount of knowledge available at our fingertips, it's very easy to go from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next, and suddenly it's 6 hours later and you're still sitting on the couch and haven't moved and haven't eaten. And what did I start with as my beginning question? I've found myself often lately going to check one thing on my phone, seeing something else, putting it down half an hour later, and remembering, oh, I did not check the original thing that I picked up my phone to check. So curiosity is very strange. It's almost amoral, right? Curiosity can be really positive, but it can also be challenging for us when it gets hijacked in our modern distractions, in those weapons of mass distraction in our pockets. But curiosity can also cause us different kinds of challenges. Challenges that are double-edged swords. Right, so the external curiosity about the world, about what's going on, is one thing, but there's also internal curiosity. And in one of our packets for this month, there was a quote from the UU minister, Reverend Victoria Safford. And she speaks of curiosity using the metaphor of perception and sight. And then the packet goes on to talk a little bit more about it. So I want to read this to you really briefly. Reverend Victoria says, to see, simply to look and to see, is an ethical act and intentional choice. To see with open eyes is a spiritual practice and thus a risk. For it can open you to ways of knowing the world and loving it that will lead you to inevitable consequences. The awakened and curious eye is a conscious eye, a willful eye, and brave, because to see things as they are, each in its own truth, will make you very vulnerable. The packet goes on to say, consequences. We rarely think of curiosity in terms of consequences, other than, curiosity killed the cat. They say, but Reverend Safford seems to have it right. There's a type of curiosity that is about enjoyment and adventure. This way of understanding curiosity invites us to experience life as a playground. This kind of curiosity leads us, but when we look closer at our lives, we realize there's another type of curiosity at play. This kind of curiosity is not to playgrounds, leads us not to playgrounds, but into dark alleys and pathless woods. It demands not just our attention, but our courage. It is not interested in entertaining us with the wonders of the world. Instead, it wants to enlist us in the work of the world. This is the kind of curiosity that asks us to change who who we are to create a more equitable and just world. Some of this may be becoming aware to all of the things that are happening around us that we may not want to acknowledge. The racism, the sexism, the ableism that are present all around us all the time, as well as within us. Regardless of our own identities, we are steeped in a culture with deep racism, with deep ableism, with deep ideas of white supremacy. And I don't know about you all, but I am doing the lifelong work of turning my curiosity to my own internal patterns, of wondering, where did that belief or reaction come from, and how could I show up differently? I am aware that I have relatives who came over on the Mayflower. I am afraid to be curious, to go into my family history, knowing that it is very likely that there is some foundational racism and harm that has been done by my ancestors. And yet I am curious about it. And that is the kind of curiosity that leaves us changed and vulnerable. And it can be frightening. And it can also be joyful. Because if we are able to shift from that deprivation curiosity lens, that sense of a need to know, right? The anxiety I feel around thinking about my ancestors and the need to know what happened. If I can shift it to an interest curiosity. As Reverend Sarah Goodman says, the opposite of anxiety is not calm. It's not confidence. The opposite of anxiety is curiosity. And she's talking that interest curiosity. Anxiety is worrying, oh no, what is going to happen? And curiosity is, oh wow, I wonder what could happen. If I can shift my own curiosity into that wonder place, a wonder of how will I be transformed, and what amazing opportunities for connection and for growth await me. It puts me in a whole different place of curiosity. And I'm sure each of you has those places in your life where you wrestle with who you are or how you are in the world, about things that may have happened to you, that still live in your patterns in your life and the ways you react. I do. We were watching Ted Lasso recently. Who's seen Ted Lasso? No, like one? Two, a couple, a few. Okay, a few of you. If you have not seen it, I might do a whole sermon series for 6 months on this, so I highly encourage it. There's a lot of good material. But he quotes Walt Whitman in his guiding phrase for his life, which is, be curious, not judgmental. I almost played a clip for y'all, but it's already almost 1:20, so we're trying to stay on time. I do try. But this idea that curiosity can move us through anxiety, that it can also move us through judgmentalness, and into relationship with one another is really powerful and is really core to who we are as a people of faith. This church in particular, this congregation, has as one of its 3 core values authentic curiosity. That's not there by accident. So I want to invite us into a brief practice. And you can either examine outward or inward. I'm going to show us some pictures, faces of people, lots of different people. And I invite you to enter into viewing them with curiosity, with that interest curiosity, with that growth curiosity of wondering where your own reactions are coming from, not from a judgmental place, but just from a curiosity place. As you see each face, be aware of what thoughts come unbidden into your mind, and hold them gently with curiosity. And or think about what questions you might have for this person, what you'd be curious to learn about them. Katie, if you would run our slideshow, that would be fantastic. And then I'll end with one more quote. I'm going to keep going with these last few pictures, but I'm also going to read a final quote for you all. From Scott Shigoka in a conversation called "Can Curiosity Heal Division?" What I've learned through my years of research and experience is that the best way that we can love better is for us to practice curiosity. Felix, you can come here, buddy. Because when we practice curiosity, Eric, you can send him in. We turn towards someone. We say, I want to know your story. I want to know who you are. I want to understand your full humanity, your nuances, your complexities, everything that makes you, you. And I want to do this not because I want to change your view or your perspectives of who you are. I want to do this because I want to get to know you. Because you matter to me. Because I care about you. Because I love you. Curiosity is not just this intellectual tool, it's also this heart-centered force that we can bring into our life. And he says, I think it's a practice we really need right now in our country and in the world. It also reminds us to look for the good in our lives and not just focus on the bad. It reminds us to look for what's uniting our communities and our country, and not just to focus on what's fracturing and dividing us. It also tells us to prioritize the questions that we're asking as an important step to problem solving, because we can't just focus on the answers, whether that's in our schools or our workplaces or our community at large. But the most important thing about curiosity, I think, he says, is how it can help us to love better. Whether that's our children, our parents, our partners, our friends, our colleagues, or even someone who holds a very different belief or view or perspective from us. If we can practice curiosity more, I really believe that we can love better. As we go forward practicing curiosity throughout this month and being attentive to the ways it shows up, I will invite us to be curious about our community partner for the month.
We do the song first. Please join us now in singing hymn number 354, We Laugh, We Cry. As before, we'll have song leaders here. People at home will be muted and can sing along. Please rise in body or spirit to join our song.
If you're using your books, we're only going to do verses 1 and 4. Verses 1 and 4. That's what I was told.